Howdy folks, and welcome to the Season 6 premiere of the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight, Rochester's premier music and interview show. We're looking to bring you another musically diverse season in a more streamlined run, so look for fewer but better episodes coming up soon. And this season, as you may have noticed, we're not in Bop Shop right now, but don't worry, we'll be there soon. We're bouncing around in a couple different places. But here we are right now. Today we're sitting down with Geoff Dale, the minister of Mayhem himself at Three Heads Brewing. Three Heads, of course, is a dear friend and partner of the Spotlight, so we're so glad to be sitting down with Geoff and for their continued support. And of course, you've all been following the Rochester residency shows. We are in his living room right now to talk about his 70s rock and jam all-star band, Extended Family. But before we chat with him, let's hear from the people who make this show possible. Josh Pettinger and crew at Wicked Squid Studios on Smith Street in Rochester have the expertise, experience, and the facility to handle all of your band's needs with an emphasis on community experience and fun. Drop them a line today to schedule your next recording session or to become a member of their studio today. This episode is brought to you by Bop Shop Records, Bernunzio Uptown Music, SoundSource, and Three Heads Brewing. Our home again this season is the warm, creative space of Bop Shop Records. At 1460 MONROE Avenue, Bop Shop Records is celebrating 30 years of presenting live creative music and is the best place in the 585 for jazz, blues, and classic rock in a curated vinyl selection. Bernunzio Uptown Music, located in Rochester's East End, has been providing Rochester and the world with quality vintage, new, and used string instruments since 1976. Bernunzio's also offers concerts, workshops, and jam sessions. They are now also a registered Stetson hat dealer. Find your sound in a Stetson. Trusted by musicians, recording engineers, and consumers, SoundSource is the place to go for audio gear, repair, consignment needs, and to have all your questions answered by knowledgeable and friendly staff. Visit them at 161 Norris Drive today. Good people, great beer, amazing music. Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue is quickly becoming a Rochester and regional favorite for unique brews and one-of-a-kind music. Concerts are Thursday through Saturday, with the Rochester residency kicking each week off, but the beer and good times are on tap every day of the week. Well, all right, jump cut. Geoff, thanks so much for joining me today, man. Really appreciate it.
Much love, man.
Much love. Let's start off nice and easy. Are you a Rochester native?
Born and raised, baby. Genesee Hospital when it was still here. Back in February of '72, came into this world kicking and screaming, feet first.
Full beard and hair?
No.
Okay.
Well, it depends. I could get really graphic, but I won't. Thank you.
Just leave it at that. All right. And born in Rochester, why don't you just start off by telling us about your musical upbringing?
Sure. Back in the day, I always loved music. My mom always had Motown playing. My dad always had old school country. My brother was 4 years older than me, and he was always listening to classic rock. And I always had music around, and I wanted to play guitar. Mm-hmm. Well, my mom said, if you're going to play guitar, you have to prove that you can play an instrument for a couple years, and then I'll buy you a guitar. So I started on clarinet. I rocked that thing for a couple years and played it till my lips bled. Not really.
Right.
I did practice it, though, just to prove a point. And then when I turned 16, my mom bought me a guitar. Mm. And
you finally earned it.
Yeah, and that clarinet never got played again. and really at that point, I just started playing. She took me to take lessons from Steve Green from the White Hots, who's a jazz legend in this town. He tried to teach me theory, and about 6 months in, I was like, this sucks. I want to get out. And he actually went to my mom and said, you need to take him to a different teacher. I'm not the right teacher for him right now. And she's like, aren't you worried about losing a student? And he could see something, I think, in me. He was like, he'll be back. She sent me off. I went to Northfield Music, took some lessons there, learned how to play Hotel California and all the classic rocks. Yeah. And about after a year of that, I was like, this blows. I want to actually do something more. So I went back to Steve, and then I took lessons with Steve for like 4 years after that. He taught me music theory to the point where I was able to go take a class at Eastman, the intro to music theory, and I was the top student in the class. And there were some kids in that class that were there for college.
Very exciting.
So, yeah. And then I go and play 3-chord rock.
Doesn't matter. You show them that parallel fifths are cool. That is all that matters. You touched on a couple things when you were talking about the music that you were listening to when you grew up. What are some things that you go back and listen to now and say, like, these are artists or albums that I really draw inspiration from now?
Well, honestly, I mean, the first concert I ever saw was Johnny Cash. And even to this day, I listen to Johnny Cash on a pretty regular basis. The guy had a great voice. He showed that it doesn't need to be complex to be real. He was the original punk rocker. And love that. And any Motown. That was a huge part. My mom saw Ray Charles like 20 times. We would go on trips and we would constantly listen to different albums. Everyone got a turn, and the Beatles. I would say the Beatles were another thing that I just gravitated towards. I love the song structures, chord voicings, and it hit me because on top of all that, when it was all said and done, it was real. Especially when you talk about John Lennon, that dude was about as real as you get.
Yeah, and the other thing I love about the Beatles is that, I know there are some people who don't get the Beatles, which on a personal level, it's your thing, but the Beatles like made people want to be in a band.
Yeah.
And that was the cool thing that I think everyone's like, yeah, the Beatles are the example of like what a band wants to be. And like, is that like, did you just want to like play music, or did you like the idea of like being in a band?
I liked the idea of being in a band. I mean, early on, the first song I ever played with people was Heaven by Bryan Adams. I actually played with a guy, Nick Walker, who is the professor at Ithaca College. He's a
monster, by the way.
Yeah, he's a world-renowned bass player. Yeah. And then Pete Griesinger, who is down the street from Nick, and he's actually a professor, I believe, at SUNY Buffalo for music. He was a studio session player in New York City. Like that band I was in high school, sort of pretty good, right. And like it's pretty crazy to think. But yeah, I always wanted to play with people because to me, that's the whole thing. Like when you're playing music, you're speaking a language, you're having a conversation when it's done right, and you talk to yourself. You're sort of crazy, so I'd like having conversations with people.
Absolutely. Well, we all talk to ourselves sometimes.
Yeah, well, yes.
That's okay, but it's nice. It's much nicer having conversations with good people.
Yes.
We were reminiscing a little bit before the cameras started rolling about some of the bands that you were in your teens and 20s. Let her rip, my man.
So, the first band I was in high school with those guys was called Syzygy, Syzygy. It's actually a word for when three or more celestial bodies are in line, and it causes an extreme gravitational pull on the middle body. And that happens sometimes with us where you get extreme tides when we line up with other planets. So that was that, and it was great.
We always love our astronomy references here in the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight.
Syzygy. It's a great word to use on Hangman. No, but and Hangman.
Hangman, that's good.
Dude, because no one's going to get
Syzygy.
And then I went to college with a band called Arcane Motives. That was fun. We used to do 90s, music and all that. Then got into the band that I was playing earlier called Spanky Jane. And it was early 90s. Uncle Raj from CMF used to play our stuff on the radio, called us one of his favorite local bands. We actually got noticed by some record labels in New York City, had a manager from Polygram Records, played CBGB's, played a couple places in New York City. Got to a point where we were actually starting to gain some traction, and some labels actually had like thoughts of signing us, but it was also our singer who was 18 years old at the time and had gotten a scholarship to Brown and was going to go be a doctor, and the band fell apart.
I mean, that's a pretty good reason.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, we could have done some things, but whatever. And so then the band broke up, and I actually at that point stopped playing music. I gave away all my gear. I had a Les Paul and Marshall half stack. I just gave it away. I kept one acoustic guitar and literally stopped playing music for 7 years. I would only pick up the guitar maybe once, twice a year. Had kids, I would bring it out and do like, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. And then, and so we would do things like that. And then Extended Family came about. And that was the beginning. My buddy Stumpy, Andrew Rosenhack, he is a special ed administrator in the city school district. There you go. There's your shout out, Stumpy. And then in Todd, my brother-in-law, one of the other heads in Three Heads, he had an acoustic bass. Stumpy got an acoustic guitar. We had all had kids, and it was like about 14 years ago. And he was like, hey, teach me how to play guitar. And Todd would come over and be like, yeah, teach me how to play bass. And so we did. And it was our way of like, instead of going out to bars, we would go under the guise of, we'll drink beers in the basement, but we'll say it's band practice.
Love it.
And then it just sort of steamrolled. And we picked up a good friend, Rick Holland, who's in the band still to this day on acoustic guitar. He was a teacher with Stumpy. Mm-hmm. And we just started, playing. And then what had happened is, since I had not been playing guitar for like 7 years, I went through some major life shifts where a couple kids were born, I was married, living a dead-end job, working a dead-end job, not living, but it felt like living it. A lot of things going on in the world, politically at that point, and all of a sudden I started writing music, and I put together something like 25 songs in the first year when we started playing. I just started writing, and it just came together.
Yeah.
So that was the original of Extended Family. We had a guy, Mark Mealy, who came and played drums with us, and in about 10 years ago, actually, in September, 10 years ago, we played our first show at Merchant's Grill, and it was the only show Todd ever stood in. We didn't have a PA because we weren't a real band per se, and so I used an amp for the vocals, and we gripped it and ripped it, and it turned into a party, and from there forward, it's just sort of happened.
Right, you just go with the flow.
Yeah, man.
No, that's a really cool thing. So why don't you tell us who is in the band currently?
Currently in the band, on lead vocals we have Allison Rouse-Monty, on lead guitar Trevor Holly, on pedal steel Dan Lynch, on bass Todd Durgle, on drums we have Jeff Woody Woodruff,
Jeff Woody Woodruff.
Yeah, Woody, yes.
Jeff Woody Woodruff.
Yes, just keep saying that. Acoustic guitar, I think I said Rick Holland, keyboards Ben Rossi, and myself, I play rhythm guitar.
And that's the full band. And as with any band who is rotating members, the sound will change as more people are added and everything. How is the sound different now in Extended Family than when it was when you first started?
When we first started, I honestly was one of the only guys that could really play.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, having people who can play is very helpful.
But it's gotten better. I think our songwriting has evolved. When we first started, I was the only one that sang in the band. Now we have 4 people that sing, so we are able to do a lot of things vocally that we weren't able to do. I think that we've gotten heavier at times, but also sparser and more diverse. So we were a little bit more streamlined when we started, and now we're not afraid to go sonically into a lot of different realms. One of the things that we've always kept, though, is fun. We're a goofy band, and it's just sort of part of the fun. And I think that we don't take ourselves too seriously. Where we are a professional band, we're not professional musicians.
Right.
If that makes any sense. The idea is we take it seriously when we're going to do a gig and we prepare for it, but we also have no delusions of grandeur. We all have full-time jobs. We all, we turn down probably more gigs than we play, just because, we just want to have a fun time. So we're not just going to play some random Tuesday night. We're going to try and only play like 4 shows a year. That's our goal. And then we just make it an event when we play.
Can't ask for too much more. Well, since Geoff was so kind and answered the lightning round during the performance, you'll have to watch through and catch those as they go along, which the audience was figuring out as it was happening, but that's quite okay. So I think that'll just about do it. Dan Gross, Geoff Dale, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight with Extended Family, and we'll see you next time. Josh Pettinger and crew at Wicked Squid Studios on Smith Street in Rochester have the expertise, experience, and the facility to handle all of your band's needs with an emphasis on community experience and fun. Drop them a line today to schedule your next recording session or to become a member of their studio today. This episode is brought to you by Bop Shop Records, Bernunzio Uptown Music, SoundSource, and Three Heads Brewing. Our home again this season is the warm, creative space of Bop Shop Records. At 1460 MONROE Avenue, Bop Shop Records is celebrating 30 years of presenting live creative music and is the best place in the 585 for jazz, blues, and classic rock in a curated vinyl selection. Bernunzio Uptown Music, located in Rochester's East End, has been providing Rochester and the world with quality vintage, new, and used string instruments since 1976. Bernunzio's also offers concerts, workshops, and jam sessions. They are now also a registered Stetson hat dealer. Find your sound in a Stetson. Trusted by musicians, recording engineers, and consumers, SoundSource is the place to go for audio gear, repair, consignment needs, and to have all your questions answered by knowledgeable and friendly staff. Visit them at 161 Norris Drive today. Good people, great beer, amazing music. Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue is quickly becoming a Rochester and regional favorite for unique brews and one-of-a-kind music. Concerts are Thursday through Saturday, with the Rochester residency kicking each week off, but the beer and good times are on tap every day of the week.
Hi everybody, we're Extended Family. Let's have some fun.
So you know what makes Rochester a great place for original music to live and breathe? It's because there's beautiful people like you. There are beautiful people making incredible music throughout this whole city. There's some awesome clubs doing their thing. It's just a great community. So to all of you, we say thank you. Who wants to hear Trevor sing a song?
6 people. 6 people.
Majority listen.
Jeff, could you ask Zach to give me more bass guitar and
the sun always rises the very next day. I feel refreshed by the warmth of its rays. The problems of yesterday have not gone away, but I just know that everything is okay. This is what you do for me. This is what you do. This is what you do for me. This is what you do. This is what you do for me. This is what you do. you do for me. This is what you do.
This is for you, Stone. Help us out if you can feel the urge.
This is what you do for me. This is what you do. This is what you do for me. This is what you do. This is what you do for me. This is what you do. This is what you do for me. This is what you do. This is what you do. This is what you do. This is what you do for me. This is what you do. This is what you do for me. This is what you do.
I mean, honestly, if I could accomplish one thing in music, it would be able to play with a lot of people that I love and respect for a long time, and that's what extended family is. So thank you, guys. You guys having fun yet? We're getting normal. This is our lullaby. Yeah. For you, Aaron.
On our way, take it off again. We run away. Polly, put your kettle on. Polly, put your kettle on. Polly, put your kettle on. Lord, bless the tea. Suki, take it off again. Suki, take it off again. Suki, take it off again. We run away.
Josh Pettinger and crew at Wicked Squid Studios on Smith Street in Rochester have the expertise, experience, and the facility to handle all of your band's needs with an emphasis on community experience and fun. Drop them a line today to schedule your next recording session or to become a member of their studio today. This episode is brought to you by Bop Shop Records, Bernunzio Uptown Music, Soundsource, and Three Heads Brewing. Our home again this season is the warm, creative space of Bop Shop Records. At 1460 MONROE Avenue, Bop Shop Records is celebrating 30 years of presenting live creative music and is the best place in the 585 for jazz, blues, and classic rock in a curated vinyl selection. Bernunzio Uptown Music, located in Rochester's East End, has been providing Rochester and the world with quality vintage, new, and used string instruments since 1976. Bernunzio's also offers concerts, workshops, and jam sessions. They are now also a registered Stetson hat dealer. Find your sound in a Stetson. Trusted by musicians, recording engineers, and consumers, SoundSource is the place to go for audio gear, repair, consignment needs, and to have all your questions answered by knowledgeable and friendly staff. Visit them at 161 Norris Drive today. Good people, great beer, amazing music. Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue is quickly becoming a Rochester and regional favorite for unique brews and one-of-a-kind music. Concerts are Thursday through Saturday, with the Rochester residency kicking each week off, but the beer and good times are on tap every day of the week.
So we're doing another new song for you. This song is I don't know, man. It's about being so plugged in that you sort of start to lose your sanity. The song's called Do You Hear Me? It's going to feature my man Ricky doing some guitar stuff with me.
It's also going to feature my tambourine. Excuse me. Don't want to burn.
So to all the aspiring artists out there, I just say, continue to chase your dreams. That's the best advice I'll give you. Just so you guys all know, this is Dan Gross. He's filming a special. I've been answering questions all night, just being weird. We tune because we care. We got a couple more left, and that's going to be the Majestics. Are you guys drinking beers? We've all had those relationships that go south. This is about a relationship that went south that I didn't have. It's an imaginary relationship, but hopefully it works for you.
What?
I sort of love my wife. I've been with her for 29 years. She's pretty amazing. I'm not going to say I wasn't an idiot and she might have gotten mad at me and then I wrote lyrics, but it's my fault, but it's maybe artistic creativity. We'll go with that. Right, baby?
I think everyone wants to know where you got that shirt, Geoff.
No. As I said, we only got a couple more left. We'll take a moment and introduce the band. Cheesy, but we got 8 people. It's a good way to stall when you need some minutes. Over on lead guitar, give it up please for Trevor Holly. On pedal steel in the back is our spiritual guide and guru, Dan Lynch. On acoustic guitar, my brother from another mother, this dude has been with us since the beginning, Rick Holland. On bass, the other head, my brother, Todd Durgle. On drums, Jeff Woody Woodruff. On keyboards, the multi-talented Afro Ben Rossi, AKA Rossi. To my left, holding it down all day, lovely as she can be, Allison Rouse-Monty. Drink beers, stick around for the Majestics. My name's Jeff, we're extended family. This song's Good Run.
Join in. You came along, made me feel like I could win.
We're gonna grip it and rip it, do one more, and then we're gonna cut over, let the Majestics do their thing. You guys wanna hear one more? This is the oldest song we've ever played. This guy right here, Stumpy, one of the original members of Extended Family. This was developed in his basement, and in Aaron's basement, who's over there as well, where we held our first practices. This song, it is called Home Movies.
Off the path we're on, critical thought now gone. Put your head down.